Hey everyone, welcome to Wiki University, the podcast that combines stupidity and education. I'm Kyle Burseth, your professor and dean of this prestigious institution. And as always, I'm joined by our number one student. He just completed an amazing standing broad jump in the Presidential Physical Fitness Challenge, Jheisson Nunez.
Hey everybody, this is me, Jheisson. I'm the head of the stupidity department. And first off, thank you for joining us once again. And if it's your first time joining us, welcome. Please remember to rate, review, like, share, subscribe, wherever you're finding us. And let's get a learning and let's get the burning.
Okay, let's dive in here, Jheisson. You have brought the topic today.
I brought this topic. I believe I've mentioned it. I've touched it here and there.
On the podcast.
Touched it here and there on the podcast. It is the infinite monkey theorem, which I believe is just you give a monkey, just one monkey, a typewriter.
One monkey.
And infinite ink and paper.
Okay.
And aside from infinite ink and infinite paper, they need infinite time.
Uh-huh.
And also, I guess that monkey has to live till infinity.
They'll inject him with stuff.
Either way, if we have all those ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
statistically, there is a chance, not zero chance, not a big chance, but a chance that a monkey would create, write a whole book, a whole Shakespeare book, infinite jest even.
In the correct order of words and letters.
Yes, I'm going to say yes. Yes. It's a possibility.
Just by random...
You give him enough time, you just lock a monkey in a room with a typewriter, infinite paper and ink, and you're going to get infinite jest.
As you know...
Or probably something better written.
Maybe you don't know, but Tom Hanks collects
Monkeys?
typewriters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a big typewriter guy.
Yeah.
Which, I don't think there's
real cool guy.
I don't think there's a ton of typewriters kicking around anymore. But we got to get Tom Hanks some monkeys.
Yeah. You give him one monkey with infinite typewriters.
I would love to see Tom Hanks on his typewriter collection. You know what? Give him a bunch of monkeys, one for each typewriter. You take all the words that the monkeys do coherently, that they write out coherently. You turn that into a script, and Tom Hanks has to act in it. It's called Monkey Typewriter.
That's kind of nice. I would if his own. Hell, he should just start his own monkey production company.
Oh my
and
goodness!
Have monkeys churn out scripts.
Yeah,
he stars in all of them, so they all make bank.
Yeah,
that's kind of that's a nice little side project. He's got going there.
Tom Hanks, give us a call for more career advice.
So again, back to this, I feel like this is just because of the typewriter has only a certain amount of keys, so it's just you're limited to that. So if you were to give two monkeys one typewriter, it wouldn't work. Or if you gave one monkey two typewriters, that's too many options.
I see. Okay.
It just needs to be one typewriter, one monkey, go to town.
What's your familiarity with typewriters? Did you ever use one? You're a Gen Zer.
Yeah?
That's what you always say.
That's right. No, I've never even smelled a typewriter. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only seen one and a few times.
Seen one?
Only seen a few times.
Wow.
Estate sales and like those kind of things.
Yeah, places where old people die.
Flea markets. Yeah.
Okay. I used to, when I was young, I used to type on some. And I even got an electric one. I owned my own typewriter at one point, which I don't know where I got it. Probably from a neighbor who just was like, what am I going to do with this? But you could plug it in and it would work a little better than the old ting. But
where did the electrical part come in? Like it just chinged by himself?
I think it chinged by itself, yeah.
Okay.
And
how do you know when to ching? Like, how did you know when?
I don't know what you call the parts, but the thing goes all the way to the end and goes thunk, and then you go
and then you type until it stops.
And then you type.
Can't type. It won't let you type, or can you accidentally type?
I don't think you can type anymore.
Okay.
And then also, if you make a mistake, you gotta like roll the paper. You could get like something
like a
that
whiteout
goes
strip,
almost like a whiteout strip,
and then you retype it.
And you retype on top of it. What a nightmare!
Yeah. No spell check. I take it.
No, my mom was spell check.
She's like behind your shoulders, just
yeah. Because I think there was a brief period where I was old enough to write like a paper, but young enough that we didn't have a computer yet.
Wow. And so you had like a whole page, like a
5
to 9 page. Okay,
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
I thought like an essay or
something that started with, "My name's Kyle, and I'm 5 years old today."
Do you remember the biggest report or essay that you did? Like how many pages it was?
Oh, college, probably like 25 pages on Japanese gardens.
Yeah,
or
that's.
something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 20 pages. I bet you can carve out more than 20 pages about Japanese gardens.
I think they limited us. I'm sure the professor was like, "I don't want to read any more than 25 pages. Don't even think about it."
Yeah.
What about you? What's the longest thing you've written?
I don't know, something like 10 or under.
Yeah.
Maybe I hit double digits, but
I remember
I don't think I really had the passion for it.
Something about the Civil War once, and it was 12 pages, and I was like, "Whew,
that's heavy."
That was a lot.
Yeah.
I had to research a ton. I had index cards all over the place. It was too much.
And now look at you. Now you're teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Now people do the research for me.
There you go.
Okay, the infinite monkey theorem states that a monkey hitting keys at random on a typewriter keyboard for an infinite amount of time will almost surely type any given text, such as the complete works of William Shakespeare. In fact, the monkey...
The complete work?
Complete, not just one work.
The chances
complete works.
of a monkey not only do the complete work, but in order that Shakespeare also released it.
Yes.
So astonishing, astronomical, but it's still a possibility.
Still a possibility, and a little insulting to Shakespeare. To be honest, I guess maybe that's where the phrase, like, even a monkey could do it comes from. Maybe.
I've only heard the phrase, only Shakespeare can do it.
That dumb monkey Shakespeare. However, the probability that monkeys filling the entire observable universe would type a single complete work, such as Shakespeare's Hamlet, is so tiny that the chance of it occurring during a period of time hundreds of thousands of orders of magnitude longer than the age of the universe is extremely low, but not technically zero.
Right. And then, funny enough, the monkey throwing shit at the typewriter, 1 in 17 chances.
Pretty good chance.
Pretty good chance
of it throwing shit at the typewriter.
I mean, that's the beauty about statistics. You know?
Yeah.
It's not just about one thing. It's about everything in life, really.
That's got to be the toughest part about giving a monkey a typewriter is the stuff that ends up in the keys. A lot of shit, a lot of bananas.
Yeah. Well, don't feed your monkey bananas right before a typewriting session forever.
Variants of the theorem include multiple and even infinitely many typists, and the target text varies between the entire library and a single sentence. George Louis Borges traced the history of this idea from Aristotle's On Generation and Corruption, which is a book, blah, blah, blah. In the early 20th century, Burrell and Arthur Eddington used the theorem to illustrate the timescale implicit in the foundations of statistical mechanics. Let's go to direct proof, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's like half of a Shakespeare book. It's undone.
They wrote thou, and they're like, it could be done. There's a straightforward proof of this theorem. As an introduction, recall that if two events are statistically independent, then the probability of both happening equals the product of the probabilities of each one happening independently. For example, if the chance of rain in Moscow on a particular day in the future is 0.4, and the chance of an earthquake in San Francisco on any particular day is 0.0003, then the chance of both happening on that same day is 0.4 times 0.0003, which equals 0.0000, it equals a small number, assuming that they are indeed independent. Consider the probability of typing the word banana on a typewriter with 50 keys. I bet a monkey does it every time. Suppose that the keys are pressed randomly and independently, meaning that each key has an equal chance of being pressed regardless of what keys had been pressed previously. The chance that the first letter is typed as B is 1 in 50, and the chance that the second letter typed is A is also 1 in 50, and so on. Therefore, the probability of the first 6 letters spelling banana is 1/50th times 1/50th times 1/50th until it's banana. Less than 1 in 15 billion, but not 0.
That's bananas.
That is bananas.
So really, I mean, anything can happen. Like
anything can happen.
That's what statistics is really telling us. Is anything can happen. There's a chance.
If one thing can happen and one other thing can happen, then those things could happen together.
Right. Or anything.
Right.
That's wild.
If it can happen, it can happen.
Yeah.
I know that's redundant, but we just learned it.
But also what hasn't happened can happen.
Yeah, but we don't know that can happen.
No. Statistically, it can and will. We just haven't lived through it yet.
Well, I don't know that to be true.
Well, the Earth is going to be here no longer.
It's
going to happen.
What's the probability?
We will no longer be here.
What is the probability of aliens arriving here at Earth?
It's going to happen.
It's never happened.
But we may not be alive when it happens.
We don't know that it can happen.
It can happen.
Statistically,
it can.
And those aliens are monkeys on a UFO pressing buttons.
I think that's how they came up with the Planet of the Apes. That's probably
is it really?
The movie.
I've never seen it. I haven't
You've
seen
never
a
seen
single
the good ones?
Haven't seen the good ones or the bad ones or the mediocre ones.
Check it out.
Let's go to Planet of the Apes.
But the
original.
The Tim Burton one, yeah.
The Tim Burton one? Did he do a Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, that's the one.
No.
Yes.
I'm going to the 1968 film.
You mean those boring pieces of film?
Planet of the Apes is a 1968 American... we don't need to read that.
Fest.
Let's go down to the plot. Astronauts Taylor, Landon, and Dodge. That sounds like an accident law firm. Taylor, Landon, and Dodge has your back. Have you slipped on nothing? Have you slipped on a banana?
Has a monkey stolen your typewriter?
We'll fight for you when no one else will. So they awaken from deep hibernation after a near light-speed space voyage. Stuart, the lone female crew member, is dead due to a sleep chamber malfunction caused by an air leak. They immediately killed the woman.
I might have to check out this film. What is it?
Their spacecraft crashes into a lake on an unknown planet. The men travel through desolate wasteland, coming across eerie scarecrow-like figures and a freshwater lake with lush vegetation. While swimming, the men's clothes are stolen and shredded by primate humans. Soon after, armed guerrillas raid a cornfield. So there's armed guerrillas. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Taylor and Nova follow the shoreline on horseback. Eventually, they discover the remnants of the Statue of Liberty, revealing that this
spoilers.
Supposedly alien planet is actually Earth, long after an apocalyptic nuclear war. Anyway, I think men and humans kind of molded.
You mean we banged a couple monkeys?
Whoa, not we.
Oh, right,
but,
sure. No, not we. No, not me.
But if monkeys can have
butt?
sex and humans can have sex and each one can have offspring, then the probability that monkeys and humans will have offspring that take over Earth, it's not zero.
It's not zero, as we can tell by the documentary Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, exactly. All right, where do you want to go from here?
Easy. Planet of the Apes 2.
No, we're not doing that. Filming began on May 21st, 1967 and wrapped on August 10th. Most of the early scenes of the desert-like terrain were shot in northern Arizona near the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River, Lake Powell, Glen Canyon, and other locations near Page, Arizona. Have you been to Arizona?
No.
Beautiful.
Only passing by Phoenix.
Okay. Where should we go here, Jheisson?
Go to the Tim Burton one. What is that one about?
When did he do one? War of the Planet of the Apes? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes? Rise of the Planet of the Apes? Planet of the Apes remake?
Yeah, that one.
You think so? 2001?
Yep, perfect.
You better be sure. This is my last Planet of the Apes flick.
That was a good year as far as I remember, 2001.
It's a 2001 American science fiction film directed by Tim Burton and starring Mark Wahlberg, Tim Roth, Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah. That's Tim Burton's wife, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Tim Burton.
Jason? I'm going to need you to change your attitude a little bit.
I know. I don't know his wife.
This episode, because you told me to go to this fucking article.
Yeah.
And don't do that shit where you go, click on that, and then go, I don't like that.
No, I didn't say I don't like that. I don't like Tim Burton, but I like that movie.
Okay.
I've told you I don't like Tim Burton.
No, you
I don't like Tim Burton's Batman. I don't like Edward Scissorhands. Honestly, I don't like this movie, but I did watch it. Like, it brings me back memories.
You sneaky little bastard.
Yeah, I'm sneaky.
All right,
it doesn't mean I hate it. I know it's bad, and I've seen it a bunch of times, so that's all.
I just went to the Lincoln Memorial because that's the first thing I clicked on.
Okay, so about that movie, similar how the Planet of the Apes ended with the Statue of Liberty, the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes ended with Mark Wahlberg heading, he thinks he's back in Earth. He goes to he lands like at the reflection pool. And so he pops out of his ship and he's like, oh, thank God I'm safe, right back in DC.
Yeah.
Until the camera pans up to the Lincoln Memorial and it's Monkey Lincoln. Ooh, ow, ow,
wait, Monkey? Did he have a top hat?
He had a top hat still.
Come on, you're messing with me. Now I got to go back to plot.
Nuts, yeah.
No.
I'm telling you. It's Lincoln Memorial, but he's a monkey.
Okay, here we go. This is the end of it. After saying farewell to Ari and Dana, Leo climbs aboard Pericle's undamaged pod and travels back in time through the same electromagnetic storm and crashes in Washington, D.C. on Earth. He looks up at what appears to be the Lincoln Memorial, only to find that it is now a monument memorializing General Thade. A swarm of police officers, firefighters, and news reporters descend upon him, revealed to all be apes. So General Thade, I assume, was an ape?
I believe. I don't know. I forget.
Okay.
I forget the mythos of it.
That is weird that Abraham Lincoln didn't exist in this world, but they still built a memorial, and same architecture, but it happened to be for this general.
Right. Who wore a top hat. like a long top hat, the Lincoln hat.
All right, here's something that jumps out at me. Paul Giamatti played Limbo.
Oh yeah, he was like that big orangutan.
A comical orangutan who works in the trade business of human slaves.
Yeah,
Giamatti drew inspiration from W.C. Fields for his performance. I'm going to go to W.C. Fields because he's someone that's like got mentioned, I think, by my grandfather when I was a kid as like a comedian, but too old.
Right.
So let's find out about him.
I'd never seek out
old comedians.
Yeah. Like, or when old people tell me like, oh, like you want to know real comedy? I'm like, all right, whatever.
No, my grandfather never did that.
Okay.
I think I had a caricature book that was like different, how to draw big-headed people, basically, celebrities. And it was always like, it was clearly published in the 80s, I think, because it was like Tina Turner, Dolly Parton, Mick Jagger. But then you had some older people like Charlie Chaplin, W.C. Fields. And it's like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Why do I want to draw him? Let's find out. So William Claude Duncanfield, better known as W.C. Fields, was an American comedian, actor, juggler, and writer. Interesting slashes. Throw in juggler in there. Fields' comic persona was a misanthropic and hard-drinking egotist who remained a sympathetic character despite his supposed contempt for children and dogs.
So he was a real piece of shit, is what you're telling me.
It sounded
100%.
Like it.
He was probably like racist and...
Well, let's go to personal life. Personal life, it says alcohol, dogs, and children. Oh, that's the name of his autobiography. Fields married a fellow vaudevillian chorus girl, Harriet Hattie Hughes, on April 8th, 1900. She became part of Fields' stage act, appearing as his assistant, whom he would blame entertainingly when he missed a trick. Hattie was educated and tutored by Fields in reading and writing during their travels. Under her influence, he became an enthusiastic reader and traveled with a trunk of books, including grammar texts and translations of Homer and Ovid, and works by authors ranging from Shakespeare, which could be written by monkeys, to Dickens, to Twain, and P.G. Wodehouse. That's interesting that she didn't know how to read, learned to read, and was like, you need to read more.
You should, yeah.
I've been reading, and you're bad at reading.
Also, this was not, she never became his wife or anything, or they did begin a relationship?
Married. They got married, yeah, in 1900.
It's kind of weird to like teach somebody how to read and then marry them. I feel like
I don't know what the order was. He might have married then.
I wouldn't marry a woman that can't read.
Everyone knows, Jheisson, you don't teach to read before marriage.
Oh, that you have to put a ring on that before?
What are you talking about? It's weird to teach someone to read?
Yeah, because I feel like it's it's weird to teach somebody to read and then like
marry
make
them?
love to them. Yes.
Why?
Because it's a very like intimate, like a very student-teacher type of thing.
Well, there is a certain place on the internet for that. And it's not in this school. It is not in this school, my friend. While performing in New York City at the New Amsterdam Theater in 1916, Fields met Bessie Poole, an established Ziegfeld Follies performer whose beauty and quick wit attracted him, and they began a relationship. Wait a minute. Oh, he and Hattie had separated in 1907. She had been pressing him to stop touring and settle into a respectable trade, but he was unwilling to give up show business.
He was unwilling to give up smoking and drinking. Let's be real about that.
They never divorced until his death. Fields continued to correspond with Hattie, mostly through letters, which he taught her to read and write, and voluntarily sent her a weekly stipend.
How did you? I'm guessing back then, like you wouldn't carry a typewriter with you, right? Or would the hotel have a typewriter?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
Because I'm guessing. I mean, some would. I'm guessing if you know you got kids and stuff, like sure, I'll bring my typewriter. I gotta write to my kids, my wife.
Right.
But not everybody could have that. So I wonder if back in the day hotels would have typewriter, right? The way they have office rooms now.
Yeah, office
with
setups.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe
a monkey working the front desk.
Definitely the bellhop.
Yeah.
Let's go to alcohol, dogs, and children. Field's screen character often expressed fondness for alcohol, a prominent component of the Fields legend. Fields never drank in his early career as a juggler because he wanted to be sober while performing. Eventually, the loneliness of constant travel prompted him to keep liquor in his dressing room as an inducement for fellow performers to socialize with him on the road.
He's trying to get his dick wet, bro. Let's be honest. Come on. That guy's a savage. I don't know why. I just feel like people have like light and like what is it called? Rose-colored glasses on when they look at like past celebrities and singers, songwriters, comedians, burlesque people. It's like they were all doing drugs. They were all hammered on television.
Hammered on television?
All these people that used to be on the...
I thought you meant like they were watching too much television. They were drunk on
hammered
while on TV.
Right.
Yes.
And drug addicts and all this shit. And it's just like, I don't.
I mean, they were all in commercials for cigarettes that were like, this is great for my health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to knock off a few pounds? Grab a couple of Virginia Slims.
Slims in the name.
Yep.
Eventually, the loneliness of constant travel prompted him to keep liquor in his dressing room as an inducement for fellow performers to socialize with him on the road. Only after he became a Follies star, that looks like that's a show or something.
And I thought we've heard of Follies before, have we not?
I don't know. And abandoned juggling did Fields begin drinking regularly. So the juggling kept him out of it.
That's crazy. So if he like had success in juggling, he could be like one of those success stories where like, man, if I wasn't juggling, I'd be
in a gutter.
Yeah, drinking my life away
with torches. His role in Paramount Pictures' International House 1933 as an aviator with an unquenchable taste for beer did much to establish Field's popular reputation as a prodigious drinker. Studio publicists promoted this image, as did Fields himself in press interviews. Fields expressed his fondness for alcohol to Gloria Jean, who played his niece in Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. Quote unquote, "I was in love with a beautiful blonde once, dear. She drove me to drink. That's the only thing I am indebted to her for." Equally memorable was his line in the 1940 film My Little Chickadee, blah, 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 something about drinking. On movie sets, Fields shot most of his scenes in varying states of inebriation. There you go, Jheisson. During the filming of Tales of Manhattan, he kept a vacuum flask with him at all times and frequently availed himself of its contents. Can we go to vacuum flask?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
A vacuum flask
You drink?
is an insulating storage vessel that greatly lengthens the time over which its contents remain hotter or cooler than the flask's surroundings. Invented by Sir James Dewar, who I think Dewar is a whiskey brand, is it not?
I believe so, yeah.
Or Dewars, maybe? Let's go to Sir James Dewar. Sir James Dewar was a Scottish chemist and physicist. He is best
It was
known...
Scotch.
Oh, maybe.
I'm joking.
Okay.
What is Scotch, though? What's the difference between Scotch and whiskey?
Is a whiskey.
From Ireland or Scotland?
Scotland.
Okay.
I'll say Scotch is from Scotland. Just from the SC.
Right.
I think it's the way, maybe like the barrels. It's based on the barrels.
Right. The way that it's aged, or the wood, the type of wood.
I think it might be the wood, but I'm not positive. Do you want to go to Scotch? We didn't even cover James Dewar, but he's best known for his invention of the vacuum flask, which he used in conjunction with research into the liquefaction of gases. He also studied atomic and molecular spectroscopy, working in these fields for more than 25 years. So maybe he isn't of Dewar's whiskey, if that's even a thing. Okay, I'm on Scotch whiskey. Scotch whiskey, often simply called whiskey or Scotch. Now I'm confused. Is malt whiskey or grain whiskey, or a blend of two, made in Scotland? All Scotch whiskey was originally made from malted barley. Commercial distilleries began introducing whiskey made from wheat and rye in the late 18th century. As of 2020, there were 134 Scotch whiskey distilleries operating in Scotland. All Scotch whiskey must be aged in oak barrels for at least 3 years. Any age statement on a bottle of Scotch whiskey expressed in numerical form must reflect the age of the youngest whiskey used to produce that product. A whiskey with an age statement is known as guaranteed age whiskey. A whiskey without an age statement is known as no age statement, NAS whiskey. The minimum bottling strength according to the regulation is 40% alcohol by volume. That's the minimum.
Yep.
Pretty strong. Scotch whiskey is divided into 5 distinct categories: single malt Scotch whiskey, single grain Scotch whiskey, blended malt Scotch whiskey, formerly called vatted malt or pure malt, blended grain Scotch whiskey, and blended Scotch whiskey. Does that get to the bottom of it?
I don't think so.
Oh, crap.
I still don't really know.
Do you want to go to just whiskey now?
Yeah.
All right. So we're on whiskey. Whiskey is a type of distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash. Various grains are used for different variants, including barley, corn, rye, wheat. Whiskey is typically aged in wooden casks, which often old sherry casks may also be used of charred white oak. Whiskey is strictly regulated worldwide, with many classes and types. The typical unifying characteristics of the different classes and types are the fermentation of grains, distillation, and aging in wooden barrels. So I think it's just the process that changes.
I don't care for the process. Just give me a good whiskey and let me sip on it.
Do you like whiskey?
Yeah, I do like it, but I don't like getting into like the nitty gritty of it. You know? I'm a very basic guy. I like Maker's Mark. But when somebody, I have some other friends who are into whiskey.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, whatever you're having, double,
double it.
No, don't double. I mean, serve me up some of that. But yeah, aside from that, I'm just like, I don't want to get into the. Yeah. I'll come over.
Yeah. Oh, in America, whiskey was used as currency during the American Revolution. George Washington operated a large distillery at Mount Vernon. Given the distances and primitive transportation network of colonial America, farmers often found it easier and more profitable to convert corn to whiskey and transport it to market in that form. But they do two very different things.
I mean, I don't think they were using it like a cash thing.
Right.
I just, it was like they were saying, it's more profitable just to do it like bulk, right? Wholesale. Give somebody else the...
Well, more profitable to convert corn to whiskey. Doesn't that mean they're using the corn to make whiskey?
Well, it's more profitable to use the corn than to just sell the corn.
But a lot of people might just want corn.
Right, but I feel like...
Kind of hard to feed a family on whiskey.
No, you sip on it. It'll last.
Okay.
It'll last long.
It was also a highly coveted sundry, and when an additional excise tax was levied against it in 1791, the Whiskey Rebellion erupted. You want to go to the Whiskey Rebellion?
Yeah. Didn't we do that?
We didn't do that.
Oh, maybe I just read about it in school.
Did who do it? You, me?
Yeah.
Did we cover it on the podcast?
The Whiskey Rebellion? Yeah.
No, I've never covered it on this podcast. Have you been doing another educational podcast?
I have 3 other stupidly educational podcasts.
Ah, jeez. It's very frustrating.
You have an elementary school one, a high school one, and then this one, the university.
Skipping middle school, huh?
Yeah, it's part of high school.
The Whiskey Rebellion was a violent tax protest in the United States beginning in 1791 and ending in 1794 during the presidency of George Washington. The so-called whiskey tax was the first tax imposed on a domestic product by the newly formed federal government. Beer was difficult to transport and spoiled more easily than rum and whiskey. Rum distillation in the United States had been disrupted during the Revolutionary War, and whiskey distribution and consumption increased after the Revolutionary War. The whiskey tax became law in 1791 and was intended to generate revenue for the war debt incurred during the Revolutionary War. The tax applied to all distilled spirits, but consumption of American whiskey was rapidly expanding in the late 18th century, so the excise became widely known as the whiskey tax. So that's the first thing to be taxed.
So you're telling me these patriots to this newfound land of glory get after they finish fighting the good fight,
have PTSD, I'm sure, and undiagnosed.
All they want to do is just sit back, relax, sip on some good old American whiskey.
Self-medicate a little bit.
And then they get taxed on it? Fuck you, George Washington.
Whoa, Jheisson.
That would have been me if I was, in the war. And then coming back? And get disrespected like that? I'm telling you, man, I mean, vets just don't get the respect then and now, to be honest.
Throughout western Pennsylvania counties, protesters used violence and intimidation to prevent federal officers from collecting the tax. Resistance came to a climax in July 1794. Wow, right after the 4th of July, when a U.S. Marshal arrived in western Pennsylvania to serve writs to distillers who had not paid the excise. The alarm was raised, and more than 500 armed men attacked the fortified home of Tax Inspector General John Neville. Washington responded by sending peace commissioners to western Pennsylvania to negotiate with the rebels.
Peace commissioners with giant guns!
Exactly. That's why I was laughing.
Peace Commissioner Army, go!
It's weird that all these peace commissioners have cannons.
So swords. He sent... But at that time, swords probably too. right?
Oh,
because they didn't let go of the swords.
No,
not yet.
They also had rifles with swords at the end of them.
Yeah, bayonets.
Bayonets. Whoa.
Michael bayonets.
It's like spinning. Then you're inside the gun. Then you're being shot out by the bayonet.
Yeah.
That's a Michael bayonet. So Washington responded by sending peace commissioners to Western Pennsylvania to negotiate with the rebels, while at the same time calling on governors to send a militia force to enforce the tax. Washington himself rode at the head of an army to suppress the insurgency, with 13,000 militiamen provided by the governors of Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
DMV.
The rebels all went home before the arrival of the army, and there was no confrontation, probably because the arrival of the army took a month and a half.
Right.
Like, it's 13,000 people hiking across the 2 states. About 20 men were arrested, but all were later acquitted or pardoned. Most distillers in nearby Kentucky were found to be all but impossible to tax. In the next 6 years, over 175 distillers from Kentucky were convicted of violating the tax law. Numerous examples of resistance are recorded in court documents and newspaper accounts. The Whiskey Rebellion demonstrated that the new national government had the will and ability to suppress violent resistance to its laws, though the whiskey excise remained difficult to collect. The events contributed to the formation of political parties in the United States, a process already underway. The whiskey tax was repealed in the early 1800s during the Jefferson administration. Historian Carol Birkin argues that the episode in the long run strengthened U.S. nationalism because the people appreciated how well Washington handled the rebels without resorting to tyranny.
But he would have resorted to it
if
they were there and present and
people.
ready. Like, it just so happened that they weren't.
Yeah, they just moved on to Kentucky.
They got drunk and fell asleep. They were drinking their whiskey. Yeah. Like, we got to go home. They got regular jobs, okay? They're not prancing around with their sword and their horse and their apple tree.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking to you.
George Washington.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, do you want to go to anything else, or do you want to wrap it up here?
I would love to wrap it up but I would love to find out what was the second thing that was taxed here in the U.S.
Oh, that's going to be hard to find. I'm on the whiskey tax here. It doesn't tell you. All right, let's see. Well, here's something. A source of government revenue was needed to pay the respectable amount due to the previous bondholders to whom the debt was owed. This is for the war.
Ooh, I'm a bondholder. Can't wait for war.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
By December 1790, Hamilton believed that import duties, which were the government's primary source of revenue, had been raised as high as feasible. He therefore promoted passage of an excise tax on domestically produced distilled spirits.
It all goes back to the spirits. I mean, that was like the moneymaker back then. And it still is now.
It still is, yeah. Liquid tax is very important, like taxing gasoline, taxing spirits.
Our economy relied on it way more, though.
Yeah.
Back then. The liquor, though.
So the transportation costs per gallon were higher for farmers removed from eastern urban centers, so the per gallon profit was reduced disproportionately by the per gallon tax on distillation of domestic alcohol, such as whiskey. Taxes were politically unpopular, and Hamilton believed that the whiskey excise was a luxury tax and would be the least objectionable tax to the that the government could levy. In this, he had the support of some social reformers who hoped that a quote-unquote sin tax would raise public awareness about the harmful effects of alcohol. So just using religion to control people.
So what's syntax? What's syntax?
All right, I'm going to syntax, but it's for, like, I'd say gambling, alcohol, cigarettes. A sin tax is an excise tax specifically levied on certain goods deemed harmful to society and individuals, such as alcohol, tobacco, drugs, candies, soft drinks, fast foods, coffee, sugar, gambling, and pornography.
Oh, sin tax, like
Sin.
S-I-N.
Yeah.
I was thinking like C-I-N-E or something like that.
Oh, a sign tax.
Yeah, but
A sin tax.
Okay.
Okay,
so you just taxed for naughty things.
yeah, for naughty
Yeah,
things.
like guns, porn, and lollipops.
Candies.
Yeah.
Lollipops. I'm just picturing someone sucking a lollipop, watching their pornography, getting taxed out the wazoo.
You mean real Americans?
And you don't even want to hear about the wazoo tax.
Ooh.
Oh, man. You get taxed if you're importing or exporting.
Oof, that's a wazoo.
And that's the episode.
Guys, I had a wonderful time here today learning about the wazoo, was it?
The wazoo. And that's
No,
something monkeys can type if you give them a typewriter.
The infinite monkey tax, which is...
Oh, man. Monkeys will, if they have a typewriter, write up tax code.
Tom Hanks gets all his tax done by monkeys, right?
Great write-offs.
Wonderful write-offs. Guys, thank you guys for joining us once more. If it was your first time here, thank you. I hope you enjoyed. Please come back. If not, if it's not your first time here, you guys know what's up. So thank you for coming. Please remember to rate, review us, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wiki University. Bye.